Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Thank you so much for your show of love. Thank you so much for all that you do for this community to keep growing. Hope you're well in all your ways and you're loving yourself and others like always. All right, Your Majesties. Today I just want to take you to something that I stumbled upon, and I felt like, what the audacity! I felt like, when we keep talking about healing from slavery, do you know that up until now, descendants of slaves have not healed from the havoc that was caused by slavery? And when I talk about slavery, I'm talking about the sub-Saharan African slavery and other slavery that you can think about. It's difficult to heal no matter how far the story has been. It's difficult to heal because definitely that act of slavery alone has a long-term effect on the lineage, whether we take it or we leave it. Then to see the audacity of this of descendants of slavers coming out to say that black people enjoy being slaves, it pushed my mind to a whole lot of things. I don't know if you understand the depths of this whole thing. Then to get some group of people, these people, these descendants of slavers, are coming out to say things and then sleeping peacefully at night without feeling anything. I don't know how they do that, Your Majesties. Let's just get right to it.
Slavery, but I think we're illogical if we didn't realize that a lot of black people enjoyed being slaves. Did you not see Matt Walsh's new video on this topic?
The push for reparations rests on the notion that black Americans are in a considerably worse spot today than they would have been had their ancestors never been brought here as slaves.
The sheer amount of stupidity here makes me genuinely question why any of you have a platform. While I ponder that question for a minute, I'm about to ether your shit. For people who have to keep telling themselves that they're not justifying slavery.
You're defending slavery.
I'm not defending it.
Pointing out something this self-evidently true isn't justifying slavery.
You seem to be doing a lot of justifying of slavery. Let's go point by point.
I think there were probably a good majority of black people who back then were born and raised as slaves, probably because that's the only thing they knew. It was the environment they grew up in. If they had a slave owner who treated them well, they probably enjoyed their lives, a few of them.
Yes, tell me more about how a few of the majority of black people with good masters enjoyed being sold as soon as they come off the boat, and if they weren't sold and they were ill, they were left to die due to hunger or disease. Tell me more about how a few of the majority of the black people with the nice masters enjoyed being split up and their families sold off to different people. Please tell me more about how a few of the majority of the black people with nice masters enjoyed working from daylight to sunset and being beaten if they were going too slow or if they were late. Please do tell me more about how a few of the majority of the black people with the nice masters enjoyed miscarrying their babies and being beat if they stopped to breastfeed.
You're defending slavery.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying it was a product of the time.
It was a product of the time. You know what else was a product of the time? How about abolitionism? So we can stop acting like idiots who don't understand that there were multiple perspectives at this time and that everyone wasn't just in a hive mind where we all just assumed slavery was okay. A legal decision in 1772 in England said that West Indian planters couldn't hold slaves in Britain because slavery was contrary to English law, which is the very law system that the United States law system is based off of. Between 1777 and 1804, northern states abolished slavery. It was known since before America became America that slavery was morally detestable, which is why work began in Britain and in the United States to ban slave imports during the late 18th century. The national political party in the United States that's still alive to this day, the Republicans, was founded in 1854 on the basis of being anti-slavery. The fucking document I read about the treatment of those slaves was written in 1805. That document was part of the reason why new slave imports ended up getting banned in 1808. So when you say black people did it too, even though it was minuscule and for different reasons, it's a product of the time, even though abolition was a product of the time too. And they actually enjoyed being slaves, which, no the fuck they didn't. You are justifying slavery.
Did you not see Matt Walsh's new video on this topic?
Oh, we'll get to him too.
Here's what he tweeted. An awkward historical fact, which genuinely complicates the reparations debate, is that black Americans are just obviously better off on average than we would have been had our ancestors never come to the United States. We can prove this point by simply asking which African country anyone asking for reparations would prefer to live in. The answer, of course, is none of them.
How does this complicate the reparations discussion? Level 1, what would need to happen for it to become uncomplicated? If China were to pass us tomorrow for the #1 world economy, would it suddenly become less complicated? How many rungs of economic prosperity does the United States need to fall before we start considering whether or not we give the black population reparations? If bringing slaves over to America did not improve standard of living at all and we were still at 18th century levels, would that somehow make the reparation conversation less complicated? Are we just going to ignore the fact that slavery isn't the only thing that the United States government perpetuated against the black community that's had a disparate impact on those those communities to this day. We're just going to conveniently ignore the fact that since the creation of the transatlantic slave trade, African nations were always going to be at a disadvantage, considering that they removed generations of young, able-bodied workers from the continent and moved them somewhere else to contribute billions of hours of labor and revenue to. Not only is it incredibly hard to replenish that population and get your economy back on track, the millisecond slavery falls out of favor, your short-term profits are gone too now. Then you combine that with colonization, and no shit, African Americans are going to be better off here. Because the very act of slavery and colonization provided a boost to European nations and the Americas while harming Africa. Oh, and by the way, we're not justifying slavery or anything. Completely unrelated quote from Robert E. Lee. I think it, however, a greater evil to the white man than to the black race. And while my feelings are strongly enlisted in behalf of the latter, my sympathies are more stronger for the former. The blacks are immeasurably better off here than in Africa, morally, socially, and physically. What? He made the same argument as the slave owner who was fighting because he thought slavery was justified? Oh, wait a minute.
The push for reparations rests on the notion that black Americans are in a considerably worse spot today than they would have been had their ancestors never been brought here as slaves.
No, it doesn't. It rests on the premise that the American government has fucked over the black community in a multitude of ways that continue to have negative effects to this day for no good reason. So if we want to right these wrongs, we need to take specific action.
If we're reimagining the world without African slavery, then we have to also imagine it without all other forms of global slavery, since African slavery was merely one variety. If you go back in time and get rid of slavery from the entire world, it's impossible to say what the world looks like right now. All of us today would be in a worse spot if slavery never existed at all across the entire globe, because a change that significant would likely shift the course of events in a way that would mean none of us would even exist. It would be a world full of other people who are not us.
Did you just butterfly effect slavery? He gets paid a lot of money to make the arguments that what the no shit, bucko, if slavery didn't exist, William J. William would probably be talking to you right now. And I think the fact that you're at this point has shown the lengths that we will go to justify slavery.
Your Majesties, there's something I still can't fathom now. The Golden Rule states that, do to no one what you wouldn't want done to you. Alright? So how do you see hurting a fellow human being? Something that is normal. Something that is ordained. Now, woe betide you who allow yourself to be used by whichever circumstances to hurt a fellow human. Woe betide you. Because the level of which this is going, the argument this is birthing, is getting out of control. Because something that is not normal, you want to force it down into history to be normal. How is it normal? Building a ship and calling it Jesus of Lubeck and bringing it to a part where you see as a remote part, and then coming to lie to the people and telling them when they hop on that ship, they're going to have salvation. And you took them, immediately they hop on the ship. That was when they knew that everything you told them was a lie. Just imagine the situation where our ancestors were. Alright? The situations where our ancestors found themselves the moment that ship started on those waters, and they knew that they can never return. They discovered, they started figuring out the fate that was left for them in the future, how their life is going to be. On that ship, they urinated on themselves. They did everything they did right there before themselves on those ships. There was no shame. There was no freedom. They were deprived of everything that you can think about on that ship. Your Majesties, and then we are here today saying that this is justifiable. You bring down a fellow human being, a being that is even above you, a being, a melanated being that is even your superior. You drop down that being into the pit. You humiliated that being to the level of which, it's unspeakable. Because there are things that I cannot just say. When you study history, when you study what happened on those ships, how our people, what they went through on those ships, Your Majesties, I don't think it's even something that you can just say without breaking down. Then you feel it's justifiable. Then you feel it's normal. Then you feel slavery is yeah, they are now in the better positions because their ancestors were slaves. Oh, they are now in the better positions because they are no more in our cable land. And most of our melanated buy these ideas. Alright? They buy these ideas. Oh, we are the lucky ones to have escaped that hell called our cable land. They sell these ideas to you, and most of you buy these ideas. And you hear them shamelessly defending. What are they defending? The evil that they did. And then tomorrow they come to you and try to conscientize you with some spirituality that they never even know the head from the tail. These are the things they do, and they come to our cable land telling us that they are bringing good news. They are missionaries. They came to give up their lives, even teaching us lies. They gave us the wrong picture of Yeshua. They put in the wrong notion of the Creator in our head. All to do what? To incite their control. To please themselves. And deceive themselves that they are superior to us, Your Majesties. When we are kings and queens, I think I keep saying it as we are the only ones that got our backs, Your Majesties. I've been saying this here. We are the only ones that got our backs. Like no one is coming to help us out in anything at all, Your Majesty. And that is why we should keep propagating self-love instead of self-hate in the melanated community. We should keep propagating. We shouldn't be tired of always, and I tell you, I will not be tired of always coming up here to give you reasons why you are the only ones that have your backs. To give you reasons why, if you feel you don't know who you are, these people know who you are. There are documents that they only circulate around themselves to tell themselves who you are. I think there was something that I stumbled upon, was it last week, where these people on their platform were educating themselves how the melanated is stronger than them, how our gene is strong. They know these things. Maybe at the end of this video I'm going to leave it there so that you check it out yourself. Your Majesties, these people know these things, alright? They know who you are. That's what I'm saying. But they make you feel you're useless. They make you feel you're worthless, and you buy that. What do you think, Your Majesties? Leave your comment and thought there at the section, and I will see you in my next one. I'm going to leave that clip just after this so that you check it out as well. And love yourself, Your Majesties. Love others. Stay safe. Stay positive. Stay positive always. Bye for now.